Jack Mercer stood among the crowd in the dusty, noisy auction hall of Orion's Edge spaceport. It was the kind of place where fortunes were made or lost in a single afternoon, and today, Jack had no choice but to gamble everything. His last job had ended badly. His old freighter had been scrapped for parts after a collision with a stray asteroid, and now he had barely enough credits left to buy another ship. If he failed here, his days as a trader and pilot would be over. The auctioneer's voice echoed through the large hangar-like room as ship after ship was displayed on the giant holoscreen. Some were sleek and new, shining like polished jewels clearly meant for the wealthy. Others were rusted, dented, and missing entire sections of hull plating, practically begging to be sold for scrap. Jack scanned the list of available ships until his gaze fell on Lot 77, a small cargo hauler decommissioned, unregistered, sold as is. The price was unbelievably low, almost suspiciously so. He frowned. "There's got to be a catch," he muttered to himself. When the ship came up, a 3D holo image spun slowly before the crowd. It was nothing special. An old N-class freighter, paint-faded, hull-scarred by micrometeorites, one engine pod clearly missing a cover. Most buyers ignored it. Lot 77 opening at 5,000 credits, the auctioneer announced. Jack's heart pounded. That was nearly all he had. Still, he raised his hand. 5,000 to the man in the back. "Do I hear 6? Silence. No one else bid. "Sold." The auctioneer slammed his gavel. Lot 77 belongs to the man in the back. Jack let out a shaky breath. Against all odds, he had a ship again. A few hours later, Jack stepped onto the landing bay where his new freighter waited. Up close, it looked even worse. The loading ramp groaned as he stepped on it, and the smell of rust and old lubricant filled his nose. The control panels were dusty, the seats were torn, and the lights flickered like a haunted station corridor. "This thing better fly," Jack muttered, running a hand along the console. He began his inspection, moving from room to room, checking the engine room, cargo bay, and living quarters. The ship felt abandoned, but not empty. There was something about it, something strange. It was in the maintenance bay behind a stack of old crates where he found it, a small sealed pod half buried under a tarp. It looked like a cryopod, but much smaller than any human model he had seen. Jack crouched down. The pod was dusty, but lights still blinked faintly on its surface. "What are you doing here?" he murmured. As if answering him, the pod hissed. Frost bloomed on the edges of the glass. Jack jumped back. "Whoa, I didn't touch anything." The pod opened with a soft click. Inside lay the tiniest living being Jack had ever seen, no bigger than his hand. She had light blue skin, delicate wings folded neatly against her back, and long glowing hair that shimmered like starlight. Slowly, her bright silver eyes opened. She blinked up at him, sat up, and spoke in a soft, musical voice. "You are new?" she said slowly, as if testing the words. Jack froze. "You can talk?" She nodded. "I am Lyra, this ship's heart." Jack stared. "The ship's what?" Lyra stood, stretching her wings slightly, then fluttered into the air. She hovered in front of Jack's face, her wings glowing faintly. "By ancient bond," she said, "you are now this ship's master, and I am your partner." Jack blinked, still trying to process what he was seeing. "Partner? Look, I just bought this ship. I didn't sign up for whatever this is." Lyra tilted her head as if confused by his hesitation. "Ship chose you. Bond is done." Before Jack could reply, the ship's lights flickered and came fully online, brighter and steadier than before. Systems he hadn't even activated powered up on their own. Jack looked around, startled. "Did you just fix the ship?" Lyra smiled faintly. "I am the ship. We work better together." Jack rubbed his forehead. This was not what he had expected when he bid on a cheap freighter. He wanted a ship to run cargo and pay off his debts, not some kind of alien co-pilot. Still, when he looked at her again, hovering there with her glowing hair, he felt a strange sense of calm. Somehow the ship didn't feel so empty anymore. "All right," Jack said finally, sighing. If we're partners, then you'd better help me get this thing off the ground. Lyra's silver eyes lit up, and for the first time she smiled fully. Yes, we fly now. The next morning, Jack sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the glowing control panels. Everything worked now. Lights, engines, navigation, even the coffee dispenser, which hadn't worked in years according to the maintenance log. Lyra hovered near the ceiling, her wings giving off a soft glow that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. She watched Jack carefully, as if waiting for him to speak first. So, Jack said finally, running a hand over the console. You really are connected to this ship? Lyra nodded. Yes, my people built this vessel long ago. It carries part of my life. Without it, I would not live. Without me, ship would sleep. Jack leaned back, processing that. So that's why the systems turned on when you woke up? Yes, she said simply. Now you and I are linked. You tell ship where to go and I guide it. Jack sighed. All right, partner, first job is simple. Cargo run from this port to a mining station on a Asterian belt. We deliver, we get paid, and I don't starve. Lyra tilted her head. You need food? Jack chuckled. Yes. Humans need a lot of things. Food, water, air, credits to pay for all of them. Lyra fluttered down and landed gently on the console. Then we must fly well. This ship can be fast now. Jack smirked. Good, because she sure doesn't look fast. Soon the ship's engines rumbled to life. Jack guided it out of the landing bay, but something felt different. The controls were smoother, more responsive, almost as if the ship anticipated his moves. Are you doing that? He asked. Yes, Lyra replied. I help you fly. You trust too much in metal hands. I make ship alive. Jack couldn't deny the results. The freighter slipped through the busy spaceport lanes like a much smaller vessel. Even the automated traffic drones signaled approval as they cleared the station. For a while, the flight was quiet. Jack relaxed, leaning back in the chair. Lyra sat near the viewport, staring at the stars with wide eyes. You really were asleep for a long time, weren't you? Jack asked. Yes, she said softly. Many cycles, I do not know how many. Last memory is running, hiding. Jack turned to face her. Hiding from what? Lyra's glow dimmed slightly. Hunters. They wanted my people's secrets. We scattered across stars. I was placed in sleep to wait for safe time. Jack frowned. Doesn't sound like it worked out very well if I found you in a forgotten maintenance bay. Lyra looked down. No, but now I have new bond. Maybe safe time is here. Jack didn't answer, but something about the way she said it made him feel responsible for her safety. He didn't ask to be her protector, but here she was, and now they were connected. Hours later, they reached the Asterion belt. The mining station floated among massive rocks, its beacon blinking slowly. Jack guided the ship in for docking. Lyra fluttered to the console and touched a glowing rune with her small hand. I hide ship's true heart, she said quietly. Jack raised an eyebrow. Why? Hunters may be watching. Jack shrugged. If you say so. The cargo delivery went smoothly. The miners were too busy to care about Jack's dusty old freighter. He got paid and bought a few supplies for the next trip. For the first time in weeks, he felt like things might be turning around. But as he returned to the ship, something made him stop. A sleek alien vessel sat docked 2 bays away. Its hull was black and shiny with sharp angles and glowing red symbols. 2 tall figures stood outside, scanning every ship in the area with handheld devices. Jack's gut twisted. He hurried up the ramp. Lyra, he said quickly, we have company. Tall, armored, and very interested in other people's ships. Lyra's glow brightened suddenly, almost in alarm. Hunters. Jack froze. You mean the hunters? The ones you were running from? Yes, she said urgently. They smell me. We must leave now. Jack didn't waste another second. He jumped into the pilot's chair and hit the launch sequence. The freighter roared to life and shot out of the docking bay. Moments later, sensors flashed red. The alien ship had undocked and was following them. "They're fast," Jack said through clenched teeth. "I make us faster," Lyra said, her voice calm despite the danger. Her wings glowed brilliantly, and suddenly the ship's engines surged with power Jack didn't know they had. The freighter weaved through the asteroid field, dodging massive rocks as the alien ship fired glowing pulses of energy at them. Each blast missed by meters. Jack's hands moved on the controls, but he realized he wasn't flying alone. Lyra was guiding the ship's movements, making them sharper, smoother, almost graceful. "This isn't just a cargo hauler anymore," Jack muttered. "No," Lyra said softly. "Now it is ours." They finally broke free of the asteroid field and jumped to a nearby system. The sensors showed no sign of pursuit. Jack let out a long breath and slumped back in his chair. "Well," he said, "that was exciting." Lyra landed gently on the console, her glow returning to a calmer rhythm. "They will keep coming. Hunters never stop." Jack rubbed his face. "Great. Just what I needed. More enemies." But deep down he felt something else. A strange sense of purpose. Maybe this wasn't just a bow out cargo runs anymore. Maybe he was meant to do something bigger. Lyra seemed to sense his thoughts. "You are strong," she said softly. "That is why ship chose you." Jack looked at her for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Then I guess we'd better be ready for next time." Jack didn't sleep that night. The image of the black, sharp-edged ship haunted him every time he closed his eyes. He sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the stars while Lyra perched quietly on the console. "They will follow," she said softly, breaking the silence. Jack sighed. "Yeah, I figured as much. People like that don't give up." "They are not people," Lyra corrected. "They are Cathar, hunters. They take what they want, break what they cannot take." Jack rubbed the back of his neck. "Sounds like the kind of trouble I don't need. But if they're after you, then they're after me too." Lyra nodded, her glow dimming. "I am sorry." Jack shook his head. "Don't be. We'll just have to stay ahead of them." The next day, Jack planned a new route. Instead of heading straight to the next job, he decided to take a detour through a dense asteroid cluster known as the Glass Veil. Most pilots avoided it because of the constant debris collisions and unstable gravitational pulls. But Jack figured it was the perfect place to disappear. As soon as they entered the field, the ship's sensors lit up with warnings. Massive shards of crystal-like rock drifted lazily in space, reflecting sunlight and creating a blinding maze. "This is a dangerous place," Lyra said, watching the glittering field. "Exactly," Jack replied with a grin. "No one will follow us in here if they can help it." But his confidence didn't last long. A warning alarm blared. The black Cathar ship had found them again. "They must have tracked us," Jack muttered, gripping the controls. Lyra fluttered into the air, her wings glowing brightly. "I can help guide you. Trust me." Jack took a deep breath. "All right, let's do this." The freighter dived into the asteroid field, twisting and turning as shards of crystal flew past. The Cathar ship followed close behind, its weapons firing bright red bolts that exploded against the larger rocks. "Hard left," Lyra shouted. Jack yanked the controls, narrowly missing a spinning boulder. He could feel the ship straining under the sudden turns, but somehow it held together. Another blast streaked past, close enough to rattle the hull. "They're gaining," Jack growled. Lyra flew to the engine control panel and placed her tiny hands on the glowing runes. The ship suddenly surged forward with a burst of power Jack didn't know it had. "Where did you get that kind of boost?" he shouted over the alarm. Lyra didn't look back. "Ship always had it. Just needed me to wake it." The freighter shot between two massive crystal pillars, scraping its hull but staying ahead. The Cathar ship tried to follow but clipped one of the pillars, sending it spinning. "That slowed them down," Jack said with a grin. But the grin faded when 3 more blips appeared on the sensor screen. More Cathar ships had joined the chase. "You have got to be kidding me," Jack muttered. Lyra flew back to him, her face calm but serious. "We cannot just run. We must think." Jack stared at the asteroid field ahead, mind racing. Then an idea hit him. "Okay," he said, gripping the controls tighter. "Hold on." He guided the ship deeper into the field until they reached a cluster of hollow asteroids. He slid the freighter inside one of the larger ones and powered down everything but life support. The ship went dark. Moments later, the Cathar ships flew past, scanning the area, but they didn't find anything. One by one they moved on, heading deeper into the field. When the last one was gone, Jack let out a long breath. "That was close," he said quietly. Lyra's glow softened. "You are clever. That was good hiding." Jack gave a tired grin. "Thanks, but we can't stay here. They'll come back." Once the danger had passed, Jack brought the systems back online. The freighter glided silently out of the asteroid's shadow. "Why do they want you so badly?" Jack asked, breaking the silence. Lyra hovered near him, her wings faintly glowing. "My people hold knowledge of gravity wells. We can bend them, shape them. Cathar want this power to make weapons." Jack frowned. "Gravity control? That's more than just a fancy trick. That could crush planets." "Yes," Lyra said sadly. "That is why my people hide. But we are few now. I may be last." Jack leaned back in the chair, staring out at the stars. He had wanted a ship, just to make a living. Instead, he had found himself in the middle of a secret war. But when he looked at Lyra floating there with her glowing hair, he knew he couldn't just walk away. "All right," he said finally. "If they're going to keep coming after you, then we'll just have to make sure they never catch you." Lyra smiled faintly. "You mean never catch us?" Jack smirked. "Yeah, us." Jack's freighter drifted in silent space, its engines powered down to avoid detection. The stars stretched endlessly around them, but Jack's eyes stayed fixed on the glowing screen in front of him. "According to the navigation logs," he muttered, "there's an old research station not far from here. Abandoned for decades. If we're going to figure out why those hunters keep chasing you, we need answers. And maybe a safe place to get that tracker off our ship." Lyra hovered beside him, her glow dim but steady. "Yes, ship still carries tracker. They will find us again if we do not cut it out." Jack nodded. "Then that's our stop." Hours later, the station came into view. It orbited a dying star, its once bright solar panels broken and dark. The metal structure looked worn and lonely, like a skeleton drifting in space. "This place feels sad," Lyra whispered, her voice unusually quiet. Jack guided the ship to the docking ring. The magnetic clamps grabbed hold and the freighter shuddered as it connected. "Stay close," Jack said, strapping on a utility belt with tools and a plasma cutter. Lyra floated to his shoulder, landing gently like a glowing butterfly. Always. Inside, the station was silent except for the faint hum of emergency power. Dust floated in the air, disturbed by their movement. Jack's flashlight swept over old consoles, broken chairs, and long-faded warning signs. "This place has been dead a long time," Jack murmured. They reached the engineering bay. Jack crouched beside the freighter's engine panel and started cutting away at the metal. After several tense minutes, he pried open a section and found a small black device blinking faintly. "There you are," he muttered, pulling it free. Lyra flew closer, her wings glowing brighter. "Throw it away." "Far away?" Jack nodded and tossed the tracker into an empty cargo chute. It floated into space, harmless. But before Jack could relax, Lyra touched a nearby console and gasped. "What is it?" Jack asked. "Station remembers," she whispered. The console flickered to life, projecting a faint blue hologram of a human scientist. The man looked tired, his lab coat torn, but his voice was steady. "This is Dr. Elias Grant," the hologram said. "If you are seeing this, then our research is lost, or worse, stolen. We tried to protect our allies, the Luminari, from the Cathar invasion. Most of them are gone now. We placed the last of their guardians in stasis aboard their ships and hid them across the frontier. If you find one, protect them. They are the key to restoring balance." The recording ended, leaving silence in the room. Jack slowly turned to Lyra. "Luminari. That's what you are, isn't it?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, humans were friends to my people. I did not know this station still spoke of us." Jack felt a strange warmth in his chest. Humans had once fought to protect Lyra's kind. Somehow that made this whole situation feel bigger, like he wasn't just running cargo anymore. "Then we have a job to finish," Jack said. "We need to get this information back to human space. People need to know what happened." Lyra opened her mouth to reply, but the station suddenly shook violently. Jack spun toward the viewport. His stomach dropped. The Black Cathar ship had arrived, and it wasn't alone. 2 more ships flanked it. "They found us," Jack said grimly. Lyra's glow brightened. "Then we fight." Jack ran back to the freighter's cockpit. The ship's systems powered up, but before Jack could disengage from the docking ring, Lyra flew to the central console. "What are you doing?" Jack shouted over the alarms. "Giving us chance," she replied. Her wings flared with light and the entire ship seemed to respond. Panels glowed with alien runes, the engines hummed with new strength, and Jack felt the controls shift under his hands as if the ship had woken up completely. "Lyra?" he asked, nervous. "I am joining with ship's heart," she said, her voice calm but distant. "You fly. I will make ship more." The freighter detached from the station and shot forward just as the first Cathar blast hit where they had been docked. Jack gritted his teeth and pushed the engines harder. The ship moved like it had never moved before, faster, sharper, almost alive. "This is incredible," he said, weaving between blasts of enemy fire. But Lyra's glow was so bright now that it hurt to look at her. "Be quick," she said softly. "I cannot hold this long." Jack guided the freighter into a roll using the station's broken solar panels as cover. One of the Cathar ships collided with the wreckage and spun out of control. Jack took the opportunity and fired the freighter's old cannons. The shots were stronger than he expected, almost as if the ship itself was amplifying them. The second Cathar ship exploded in a flash of light. "That's 2 down," Jack muttered. "1 more to go." The last Cathar ship circled back for another pass. Jack pulled the freighter into a dive, flying dangerously close to the dying star's corona. The Cathar followed, but its shields faltered in the heat. Jack saw his chance and fired again. The last ship's engines blew apart, leaving it drifting. When it was over, Jack powered down the weapons and looked over at Lyra. She lay weakly on the console, her glow faint but still there. "Hey," Jack said softly. "You did it. You saved us." Lyra managed a tiny smile. "We saved us." Jack reached over and gently tapped the console. "Then let's make sure no one ever forgets what you and your people did. We're going to finish what Dr. Grant started." Lyra's silver eyes closed as she rested, and Jack turned the freighter toward human space. For the first time, he felt like he wasn't just running away anymore. He was flying towards something important. Jack Mercer sat in the pilot's chair, hands gripping the controls tightly. Lyra rested on the console, her glow faint but steady. The freighter's systems were fully awakened now, almost alive under their combined control. They had survived the Cathar attack at the derelict station, but Jack knew this was not the end. The Cathar would return, and next time they would come prepared. "We need a plan," Jack said quietly. Lyra's silver eyes opened slowly. "We do not run anymore. Ship is stronger. You are strong. We can face them," Jack nodded. "All right. Then we fight smart." They jumped to a nearby system where a human outpost waited. It was small and lightly defended, but Jack knew it would serve as bait. If the Cathar came, he wanted them away from innocent stations and colonies. "Are you sure about this?" Lyra asked. Jack smiled faintly. "We'll draw them in, then show them what humans and a little alien magic can do." Lyra fluttered over the main console. "We fight together." Jack felt a surge of determination. For the first time, the freighter felt less like a ship and more like a living partner, responsive to their thoughts and intentions. As they approached the outpost, sensors lit up with multiple hostile signatures. The Cathar had returned, 5 ships this time, faster and more heavily armed than before. "Get ready," Jack said. "We're not just dodging anymore." Lyra hovered beside him. "I am ready." The freighter surged forward. Jack twisted and turned through the asteroid belt near the system, while Lyra channeled her energy into the ship's engines. The old cargo hauler leapt and spun with incredible speed, dodging enemy fire with a grace Jack had never imagined. Jack fired the cannons. Each shot seemed to carry more power than the freighter should have been able to produce. A Cathar ship took a direct hit and spun out of control. Lyra touched the control panels, her glowing hands sending energy through the ship. "We can do more," she said. "I give ship my strength." Jack's eyes widened. "Then let's finish this." The battle intensified. Red blasts streaked across space, and debris from destroyed Cathar ships floated past them. Jack dodged and fired, Lyra's guidance making every movement precise. "Another one," Jack shouted. Lyra glowed brighter, her wings flaring like tiny suns. The ship surged forward, and a concentrated pulse of energy shot from its engines, disabling a second Cathar ship without destroying it. Jack realized they could defeat their enemies without killing them. Human ingenuity combined with luminary power. "This is incredible," Jack muttered. Lyra nodded, tired but determined. We fight, but we do not destroy all. Some may learn. The final 3 Cathar ships hesitated. The last one charged, firing rapidly, but Jack had a plan. Using Lyra's energy and the freighter's newfound abilities, he twisted the ship into a daring maneuver, sending a controlled shockwave that disabled the Cathar engines. All 5 enemy ships floated helplessly in space, their crews stunned by the unexpected power of a human and a tiny alien working together. After the battle, Jack guided the freighter to the outpost. Emergency crews rushed to help, but Jack waved them off. No casualties. Just learning a lesson. Lyra hovered beside him, exhausted but smiling faintly. We did well. Jack leaned back, looking at the stars. Yeah, we did. He turned to Lyra. You know, I didn't plan on this. I just wanted a cheap ship. Now, we've done something bigger. We've shown that humans and Luminari together are a force to be respected. Lyra's eyes sparkled. And you are brave. That is why you were chosen. Jack smiled. I guess this is the start of something new. Over the next few days, Jack and Lyra repaired the freighter and sent the recovered research data to the human fleet. Scientists and diplomats were amazed to learn that Luminari technology still existed, and Jack received messages offering support and resources. Jack realized the freighter was no longer just a vessel for cargo runs. It was now a symbol of hope. Lyra's presence made him understand that humans could do incredible things when they worked together with allies. Finally, Jack set a new course for the stars. We're going to find more of your people, he said. There may be others still out there, and if we can find them, we'll make sure they're safe. Lyra's wings fluttered with excitement. And humans will help? Jack laughed. Of course. We have a long way to go, but we'll do it together. As the freighter leapt into faster-than-light travel, stars streaking past the viewport, Jack felt a sense of purpose he had never known. He had started with nothing but a cheap ship and ended up with a partner, a mission, and a new understanding of what humans could achieve. Lyra hovered beside him, her glow steady, a reminder of the bond they shared. Together they would explore the galaxy, protect the Luminari, and show that courage, intelligence, and compassion could overcome even the deadliest threats. The freighter vanished into the starfield, carrying 2 unlikely partners on a journey that would change the galaxy and prove that humans, when united with others, were truly special.